Hello, Robert James Fremantle here with a video response, in fact, to Blackbarnz, who brought up the subject of how much he detests Warforged in D&D. And well, while I don't particularly have experience with D&D, I understand the concept of what these Warforged are, and I play something called Dragon Age RPG, so there we have Golems, although not yet character playable ones in the RPG. In the computer game, however, yes, we've got Shale, the Stone Prisoner DLC content. But I'm going to look at this as a whole, as like Warforged / Golems here, and look at it on two sides. Now, I'm going to say that the way I approach this is that I like to see that anything that anybody says can't be done, I see as a wonderful challenge to find a way to darn well do it, at least once. So I got to thinking about this, and I thought, what are any potential positives that could come about? Because I do see the validity of your points about the problems of actually playing one, but I think some of it is down to maybe the GM and how he structures the types of encounters for the end fulfillment of that player. So let's look at it first. I mean, a Warforged has this whatever governing personality, and you know you might have the issues with the way its personality is. What if something crazy happened? What if something happened where it somehow got taken over and possessed in some way, like more like a golem? Yeah, so that it ends up with a soul in it. What if it got possessed by some spirit priest person's embodiment, spiritual soul, who was a pacifist or something crazy, and now he's stuck in the body. You know, he's stuck inside a Warforged, and he's now controlling it, and he's a pacifist. Now, you see, imagine playing a great big brutish monster that can just kill with its bare hands, and you're a pacifist. Love it. Love it. Maybe it would be trying to break up fights and hurt people. And maybe it carries the guilt of that. Maybe it's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster element. Or, you know, maybe it would retain some of that, like that holy magic madness. And then you're playing like literally a holy, divine, pure magic Warforged somehow. And you could say, oh no, you couldn't do that, but why couldn't you do that? There are one-off situations sometimes, you know. There could be a gem, a crystal that this particularly unique one has as a conduit, and that's how the soul was able to attach in the first place, because it was built with this, and it's a one-off thing, you know. You've just got to go the extra mile to explain your reasons away. You know, a healer pacifist Warforged. Get crushing? No, I don't think so. Stop the crushing and heal everybody. Here comes the doctor. You mentioned about not eating and breathing, but you know, he's a big old cumbersome monstrous thing getting in the way, blocking out the sun, scaring people. Concerns towards the party that goes against all of their attempts at negotiation and friendliness. Then there is the fact of, you know, some dungeons and encounters, they might have things that are too small, and the Warforged can't get through, so he has to go through some hard way, and you give him a hardship of another matter. You know, you could really make it difficult for him. Yeah, you could make, even if you had like a Warforged that's, you know, is extremely good in combat or whatever, and someone wants a very combat-centric one, you create difficulties for them. You know, he can't so easily get into cover. He's sticking out of cover more often. So if you're using a system where you have some idea of, you know, the height ratio of cover, obviously miniatures or not miniatures, you may do it another way. You know, he's more easily seen, more easy to get hit. You could have it that arrow fire or missile fire, you know, there's more chance of hitting him perhaps. You've got to take into account the weight, and this would go with Golems in Dragon Age. I would be excited about the possibility of this. You know, some things are they can only take a certain weight of the character, perhaps. a very rickety bridge, an ice bridge that's melting because it's now spring, that only forms between two mountains in the winter. These kind of things, you know, a dungeon where the trap could be anywhere, but because he's a Warforged and he's just stepped on the pressure plate and he's going through, ooh, he could fall on the spikes, take massive damage, and use his head as a stepping stone. There's all these extra possibilities, I think. Use the weight and size against it. Oh, we've only got a small little cave. The others can walk through, but you've got to get down and actually crawl along, which means that when you get attacked, you're going to have to take longer trying to get back up and, you know, waste your actions doing that. And, you know, if you're first through, you've actually come in prone. And new ways of looking at it. Penalising, potentially, but not to be cruel necessarily, but to make it more interesting, more viable for them actually being there. How about this? You could look at it as another way, you know, just fallen off of a mountain, maybe not too far because it would be ridiculous, but, you know, has just fallen and boom, the arm shatters, so the hand comes off and shatters across here or whatever, snaps, cracks, yes? You know, you could lose HP because of it. It's gone, you can't fix it back on, you know? But, you know, there's a jagged piece there now, and it might actually give him a new damaging attack type because of it. You know, there's a negative and a bonus. You can play. It's a malleable sandpit. I mean, the great thing with Golems, you know, looking at that whole automaton type, but possibly with a soul of some sort in it, some kind of sentience, like the Dragon Age ones, you can have all the fun of what the hell are they made of? Are you a wood golem? If so, fire is going to be hilarious. Fire and oil and wow. Here comes a dragon. Run. Or, you know, whatever you happen to be made of. It could be interesting. It could be that, you know, even if you're something that's made of diamond or something like that, it could be that you constantly get your party harassed by brigands who want a piece of your ass, literally. The other thing I quite like the idea of with an automaton type is that they aren't really gear dependent. They don't have to be. They don't really have to wear armour, do they, if you think about it? Something like that. And they don't really have to, if it's, again, like the Dragon Age type of golems, have to have a weapon, because their fists are a damn weapon. And that's nice in a way, because it discourages this mentality of gear grinding and loot hunting, and you just get on with it and sort of playing it. And again, you know, you could say, oh, you want to play this? He's oversized and you know, he doesn't have armor that fits him, and you're not finding any drops that fit him, because, you know, why would a humanoid who's wearing armor, you know, who you kill, you take his armor off, it's not going to suddenly fit the damn Warforged, is it? I mean, that's not cool, is it? You know, fit around his arm maybe. So, I think it would be interesting. There's another potential penalty. You can look at it as a penalty, but sometimes bad things, to be honest, restrictions, actually give you inspiration for roleplay. Sometimes a narrowing of the field really condenses you into, right, here's my opportunities. Yes, I'm restricted and I can really play with this little narrow band here and do stuff with it. And then it's the exceptions of that narrow band that really give it interesting contrast. Just like, say, for instance, possessed by a pacifist. And to be honest, that's how I'd fancy actually playing a Warforged. It's like, oh, I've got this weird glowy crystal on my back. I can't quite get it or see it, but people tell me about it. They've tried pickaxing it off and it won't come off, but I think this might have something to do with it. You know, it could be something funny, like, you know, every time somebody near me dies, this thing glows for a moment, and what's happening? Is it, oh, hee, oh, ha. You know, you can have fun with people that you wouldn't normally be able to have with, you know, flesh and bloodies. Yeah, maybe Dragon Age are going to be introducing something like that soon. I mean, but at the best of times, great NPCs, right? And if you've got something mind controlly, having that turn on your party would be hilarious as well. But to be honest, the idea of the character that can be played with, toyed around with. I mean, when you look again at Dragon Age, and I'm keep going back to this because it's my personal experience, and you write and talk about what you know about. With Shale, who you get to use in the computer game, she has a very interesting personality because she has been left all of these years as a statue, just in the village centre, and she's been reawakened, but was completely conscious all that whole time, and she has one hate above all else: pigeons, birds, dirty, filthy birds, and just wants to crush them, kill them, wherever she sees them. Because you can imagine, if you were a statue and you were able to come alive, what have birds done over the last few years with you while you've been stuck, unable to move, but suffering every moment? If it doesn't sound fun, find ways to make it fun, perhaps, and see if that works. That's my approach to RPG. This has been Rob, and I'll see you at the table. I don't know what I'll be playing.